Auburn football has its next OC, and it comes from a very, very familiar place. As I can talk, if I can actually get the words out, it comes from a very familiar place with some very interesting storylines and dynamics that are playing out in a state right next to Alabama. Let's talk about this news. The new OC for Auburn football, Derrick Nix. Breaking news right now. War Eagle Auburn family and War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, we appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. As is the case for every single one of these live streams, we'd love for you to start off by smashing that like button if you are feeling like we've earned it, of course, but it is a humongous way that you can help us spread to other people to continue to growing the best little family within the Auburn family. And we'd love for you to post where you're watching from, your city, your state, and if you're international, you can do that as well. Post all that in the chat right now with the War Eagle. We'd love to know who's hanging out with us for this live stream, but even if you're on the replay, you can participate in those things as well. For this live stream, as I stuttered to get through it in the intro, Auburn has named its next OC, Derrick Nix, not Patrick Nix. No, Bo Nix is not returning. Derrick Nix is returning to the state of Alabama, returning to be part of Hugh Freeze's staff. They have had a long history together and will be Auburn's next offensive coordinator and running backs coach. A lot of interesting stories and dynamics to talk about within this. Our main focus here today is to react to the news. So our reactions, our comments, mainly mine when I say our, but yours are important as well. We'd love to know your thoughts focused around this topic, the Derrick Nix topic, and the running back position, the offensive coordinator position, the history. All of that is fair game for however much time we spend together. So jump in here, participate. Would love to hear your thoughts. Overall, at the end of the show, we'll tell you about things that we have coming up. So many fine folks already checking in. We got Linda, Sean from Coleman, Alabama, Toby in Athens, all the way out in Colorado. Pete checking in. Thanks for being here. And then Linda as well checking in from PCB. We always got to remember that she at least gets the nice weather during this cold weather. Although I bet PC is not super warm right now. You're probably getting a little bit of that extra cold weather that's coming through right now. Would you say that a freeze warning is still in effect, especially for the state of Mississippi? Not a bad look for Auburn, but a bad look for Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. It's been a few tough times for him on social media these past couple of months as he's had some fun with Auburn, or tried to, and then it's been at the expense of himself having fun with that as well. I think here's the thing about this news that I want to start off by saying. Yes, the addition of a new OC, the dynamics of that are always good, right? Those are plenty of things to talk about. But for me, the more interesting dynamic is the one that continues to build between Auburn and Ole Miss. And look, folks, this is outside of football. This is basically everything. Over the last several years, there has just been this increasing animosity, increasing fervor between the two fan bases and the schools in terms of how ferociously they compete against one another, in all sports, how they interact online, how certain coaches behave. And it's getting kind of fun. I'm going to be honest with you. This is like a little pseudo rivalry that is starting to build more so on Auburn's side because they're the ones that are benefiting the most from it right now. But I know a lot of people are jumping on the hate Lane Kiffin bandwagon right now in terms of him having to eat crow on this again, which I acknowledge isn't him eating crow again, but I just love having him there and how much he stirs the pot and gets things going amongst the two fan bases. So to me, I think there's a lot of grandstanding about being petty and being, just having maybe childish fun on social media. I'll be honest, I kind of like it. Maybe that makes me a child, and so be it. Anyway, Big Jink is here. Says War Eagle, Dexter on Facebook. Good to see you. Toby brings up the topic about Derrick Nix being a good recruiter. Would you speak towards that? So, yeah, let me kind of set the table with Derrick Nix, what we know about him. What we know is that he has been at Ole Miss forever. And they've had some pretty good recruiting runs of late, especially under Lane Kiffin. And you got to think that he has had a hand in that for a while now. And when you have someone that's been somewhere for a long time, that builds up a rapport in terms of your recruiting prowess, someone who's going to be a continuity piece there. And yes, he's moving somewhere different right now. But to me, that's not only just in general being a great recruiter, but a notch in his belt showing, I don't move around a whole lot. And I'm coming to be here, hopefully, with a football coach at Auburn that's going to be here for quite some time. So I'm making this move and going to be here for a while as well. So I know that he's had a hand in, Ole Miss in helping develop and get players like Dexter McCluster. I believe Elijah Moore, he had a hand in when he was the wide receivers coach there. That's the other interesting dynamic here too. So traditionally, he was a running back in college. He's been the running back coach for a long time at Ole Miss, but then switched over to wide receivers the last several years and has had success there too. So this, coming to be the running back coach / OC is the natural fit for him in terms of positional focus. But in terms of recruiting, it's nice to know that he's had a hand in running backs, wide receivers, just overall offensive stuff now, being an OC. So you should feel really good about it in terms of the recruiting ability of what's being brought in. And that's been the big storyline for Hugh Freeze thus far, is who he's bringing is supposedly great recruiters to help alleviate the stressors that were upon him having to focus on that so much this go around. That's the storyline out there. Seems to track, but that's just kind of the notion we're going with right now. Angela, good to see you. Freezing up there in Jersey. We got New Jersey, Colorado, of course, Alabama, Georgia, all the different places checking in right now. A lot of people are interested in this topic. I must have missed what's going on with Lane right now. So I guess you're referring to what everybody's getting on to Lane Kiffin's case for. Lane Kiffin, as you know, loves to have, and we are losing connection for some reason. Hang on. You guys still there? Hang tight, everybody. I think our internet's having a few issues right now. So if you guys, I hope we're all still good. It shows me that I'm still here with you all now. That is interesting. I have not had problems like that in quite some time. That was like, I even saw it pop up on my screen to a little focus there. All right, looks like we're good. Let me go back to the question here. Must have missed what's going on with Lane Kiffin. Look, Lane is a basket case, and I'm here for it. I'll be honest with you. He today, the football social media for Ole Miss put out a post before even Auburn could announce it, saying Derrick Nix was leaving for Auburn. And it was a very direct, very distinct wording with the way it was put on there. Poking fun, kind of trying to have one last laugh about all of this. And it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. To me, I thought it was hilarious. It's just the pattern with Lane Kiffin that he doesn't take life too seriously. And that definitely can kind of grow on, or not grow. Well, I mean, I guess it could grow on you if you're like him, but it wanes on people a little bit. People wish he would take things a little bit more seriously. To me, we've got too much of that out there. I kind of dig it. But I also understand that, there's a time and place for things like that. It was a little bit of it was a little petty. Maybe not too much, but it was definitely petty out there. All right. See a lot of you confirming that we're back together right now. So that's good. Sorry about that snafu. I don't know what happened with our internet there. It's a freeze warning in Madison, Alabama. What's up, James? Good to see you. Thanks for being here. And James was the recipient of our subscriber giveaway way back long ago. We finally got it to him. So I hope you're enjoying all of those things that you got in your surprise pack with the signed Auburn football. The weakest link says Kiffin acts like a child on social media. Too unprofessional for Bammer. Good offensive mind, though, and a decent head coach. And I think that's an easy way to look at this. Like, yes, does he come across as more childish on social media? Of course. But you can't deny that he's a pretty decent recruiter in himself, pretty good offensive mind, and he's got Ole Miss competitive. So you kind of accept the good and the bad with Lane Kiffin, but that's what's been going on today. He definitely, and the football program probably shouldn't have put out that post, but that's Lane Kiffin. Yeah, and he was on Twitter begging for a job, didn't even get mentioned. Now I buy that a little bit. I think there's some of that at play here, but not as much as people want it to be. I know that's not the popular take right now, but I'm kind of a fan of it at the moment in terms of what he's stirring up online. So anyway, the flag framed, very nice, very, very nice, interesting. Well, glad to see that you liked all those things. All right, so what other angles of this story, what other reactions do you have about Derrick Nix specifically that you want to talk about? Let me talk about it from this angle that maybe some of you aren't thinking about. Who's he replacing? Well, yes, he's replacing Philip Montgomery. That's been in the news for a while. Obviously, we did not have a great day last week when Cadillac and Zach, but Cadillac for this purpose, they resigned from the team, opening up the running back position at the very least. So for me, what I see and what we're losing in Cadillac is that continuity piece, that mainstay here who held over through the tumultuousness, who was here to help get us to the other side. Now you're taking someone who's a continuity piece from Ole Miss, who's been that much longer than Cadillac has been for us as a coach, over at Ole Miss through other coaching changes. I mean, he was at 16 years he's been there at Ole Miss. So that's Lane, that is Matt Luke, be Hugh Freeze, and I think that would be it. But still, that's an impressive, length of time to be there and be someone who can be a continuity piece for you. So that's definitely something that you put in a win column for Auburn in terms of you're replacing that type of player. Replacing is a harsh word, but filling that role that has been vacated by Cadillac leaving. Doesn't steal that wound or seal the wound up, but it definitely helps a little bit in terms of that role. A good recruiter. Caddy was good at recruiting somebody who shows longevity at a place. Familiarity is where you really put a tick box for him to show that he and Hugh Freeze have that rapport already, and that there will be probably one solid identity. That was the problem this year. One solid identity on offense. Linda says, I heard he had a buyout if he left for a non-play calling job. Look, everybody likes to talk about these things. Nobody knows what's in the contract for real. Usually the only thing we ever get for coaches are their amounts that they're making, not necessarily the stipulations. And that's fine. I think everybody likes to talk about these little stories, and you'll see them online on message boards, and who knows if they're truth. I wouldn't focus on those so much. He definitely had a buyout. Most coaches have that in there in terms of fulfilling. If you don't fulfill out your contract, you either have to pay back or the school that you're going to has to pay back. I would assume something like that is in there. And I would assume that Hugh Freeze had to work to get him here. Lane posted a picture of Derrick Nix in their offices last week when the chatter started to arise about Derrick Nix. And, I'm sure Lane Kiffin worked hard to keep him there, but he's taking a step up in a sense. He's leaving a wide receiver coaching job, a assistant head coach or associate head coach role, coming over to be an OC running backs coach, his old traditional position, a place that he's from. He's from Atala, Alabama, but then also coming to take an official OC job. Now, some of you are going to say, sure, Kyle, he's going to take the OC job, but Hugh Freeze is calling the plays. And that may be the case. We won't know until I actually get out there and see what's taking place. But he's still taking, at least in title alone, a step in the right direction. Responsibilities can come with time. Good to see you, Bubba. Thanks for being here, hanging out with us. I'm so glad that Auburn passed on Lane during our search. He's a good coach, but brings the wrong type of attention to the program. He brings a lot of good attention, too. I would agree with you, though. I'm happy we went where we went. Whether that was his choice or our choice, frankly, it doesn't even matter. So if there's Ole Miss fans want to argue that, so be it. Let's see here. Love the choice, WT says. I think Coach Freeze got someone he works well with and really wanted. I think that's the big narrative here. the big takeaway. Hugh surrounding himself with staff that is best fit for him. The Joey Freshwater thing coming up again. I love the hire. It's an upgrade, offensive coordinator and running backs coach for him. I think it's definitely it's a return to form for him, but an upgrade as well for him. So a lot to like in that regard for a new OC. Related to this, but about a different position, because once you fill this spot, running backs coach, OC, all that left was quarterbacks coach. Kent Austin has been promoted from the off the field position in a quality control assistant to the coach role to quarterbacks coach, which is essentially what he was doing, just in an off the field role already. Some people thought that, and I thought as well, that he might be a good option to elevate up to OC. He's been that before at Liberty. Didn't happen this time, but he's being promoted to an on the field role. So now effectively, folks, with this hire, Derrick Nix, running backs is filled, OC is filled. Offensive line, you've got filled with Thornton. Wide receivers, Marcus Davis. And then tight ends, Ben Agamoa. And then who I was just talking about, Ken Austin is your quarterback coach. And then if you want to throw Hugh Freeze in there as a play caller too, your offensive staff is complete. I know what a lot of you are asking. What about the DC? I'm sure we'll be talking about that very soon. We'll focus on all that in due time. But to me, you could make an argument as of this moment that the staff is complete. Could be an addition, but it could be complete right now. Brian thinks that Ken Austin is a solid coach. I would assume so as well, to get promoted up to quarterbacks coach. You know, it's one of those things that you can understand him not taking that position, that role when he first comes to Auburn, came in as a quality control assistant to the coach role in year one, making those progressive steps up there as he gets further into SEC competition. And he has a history of developing a few quarterbacks as well. So he's got some experience to put out there. From an X and O standpoint, Nick should be a seamless move to Auburn with the history with Freeze. And that's what you would hope for, right? What was the biggest knock this season is that the offense lacked identity, lacked direction, lacked consistency. Well, if the story tracks, meaning that they have history together, they are like-minded in offensive schemes, then that is going to obviously give you one solid identity, one direct focus, and a pathway to follow offensively. And when people aren't measuring up, players, coaches, otherwise, or decisions, then you know that you've got to either make a change schematically, coaching-wise. The point is, seamless, as you just said, is the best way to describe this. So I like the fact that you use the word seamless, Tony. I like that. Lane has the saltiest tweets. He does, and I'm kind of here for it. I'll be honest. We all could use a little bit of liveliness in the SEC with names like Les Miles gone, RIP, Mike Leach, your Steve Spurriers, Ed Orgeron. We could use a little bit more energy in the SEC coaching ranks, and I'm here for it if that's what he wants to continue to do. And because here's the thing, folks. I wouldn't be complaining about Lane Kiffin doing these things in the direction of Auburn, because it always backfires on him. He did it with the kicker. He did it with this particular thing. There's other situations as well where he's hinted at that he was taking a shot at Auburn or stuff like that. It very rarely works out in his favor. So I say, keep him coming. And he does troll Bama. So that gets a win in my column too. I think the new coordinator additions are starting to make sense with some of the other coaches leaving recently. And obviously we're still waiting on that one too. So yeah, you could make a case that the staff is complete. We know we have one other position potentially to fully fill. It's been partly filled, but offensively, this is your team. How does that make you feel, folks? There's not a lot of big names outside of Derrick Nix on that staff, but they're all Hugh Freeze guys. Ben came over with Hugh, Thornton, didn't come over, but he came over from Ole Miss, so he's reunited. And I forgot to talk about that too. So that's another one that we've stolen from Ole Miss. It's not going well for Mississippi and for Lane Kiffin right now in terms of Auburn stuff. To me, even though you may not know some of these bigger names being on the staff, this is definitely something I think everybody should feel good about. Camellia feels great about it. Lane is good for college football. It's major drama, and I love it. There is a point where it becomes a little too excessive, but I don't know that we've reached that yet. I think reactions and content about him does well, and so sometimes you see that outrage is too strong a word, but the reactions to him are more played up than they actually are. Is it petty? Yes, it is. Is that all right in my eyes? Hey, he's not our coach, so he can do what he wants. All right, so we're at 20 minutes. We usually do a little bit shorter form reaction streams, but I don't want to walk away from talking about stuff related to Derrick Nix, even Kent Austin, these new hires for the offensive staff being completed. So if you've got something you want to mention that we haven't talked about, an angle of this, bring it up now. Let me give you some information about where to find us next. Don't miss tonight, folks, 8 p.m. Eastern time. This is the place where your voice matters the most. This is our Auburn Family Nights. We have them every Wednesday night. Back when YouTube didn't have like hardly anybody, if any, Auburn folks on it. We've been doing these live streams, call-in show. We'll talk about this, I'm sure, some more. Anything and everything Auburn. You can call the show. You can just listen. You can chat. Join us tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time, every Wednesday night, unless there's a basketball game that interferes with it. Tonight, not the case, because right after it is a basketball game, and right after that, we will do a post-game stream. Auburn versus Vanderbilt. Don't miss it. Probably going to be a fun one, so let's do that. Second reaction show, Ole Miss, since we've been talking about Ole Miss so much. This Saturday reaction show, don't miss that after the game. I believe that one's going to be a late one, too. And then this Sunday evening, the Auburn Experience, episode 63, live recording at 9 Eastern time, always at 9 Eastern time on Sundays. Everything else we try to do scheduled-wise, 8 p.m. unless they're breaking news stories like this. So that is your upcoming content, scheduled content from us. Plenty of other things out there. Follow us on TikTok, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the things out there. So we appreciate you being here and hanging out with us. Yes, please do smash the like button. Coaches come to AU to play for championships. Come to Ole Miss to audition for Auburn coaching. It certainly seems that way right now. And the biggest thing that I would say if you're an Ole Miss fan, we had an Ole Miss, I'll call him an insider. He probably would disagree with me on that because he's a very humble guy, but I'll call him an insider. 2 seasons ago on, and he agreed that Ole Miss is nowhere near the level of Auburn in terms of football, and they're still chasing. They've moved the needle a little bit closer, but all you got to look at is situations like this and say Auburn's more of the destination than Ole Miss, and that's okay. It'll change at some point, or it may change at some point. Hopefully not, but that's all right. But anyway, all right. So in summary, Derrick Nix is your new offensive coordinator and OC, effectively replacing Cadillac Williams. Philip Montgomery. Kent Austin replaces the quarterback role. Philip Montgomery is part of that as the new quarterback coach. Your offensive staff is complete. That part of the search is done. We now move our attention to the potential of another additional defensive coordinator, and we'll be talking about that in due time. I appreciate you all popping on here to talk with me about this breaking news for Auburn with the new offensive coordinator, Derrick Nix, welcoming him to the Auburn family. I appreciate you being here with our rough start and then our internet connectivity issues. So you guys continue to be the best little family within the Auburn family, and I appreciate you so much. Hope to see you tonight, 8 Eastern time. Don't be late here on YouTube. Till then, where you go.